This Star Trek Section 31 review contains spoilers. Please click our link in the video description for our spoiler-free review. Okay, Trekkies, we have Section 31 finally released on Paramount Plus, and it's not going too well. But why is that? Michelle Yeoh is fantastic. What is so different about this Star Trek movie compared to the others we've had in Star Trek's impressive history? One simple answer is that it does not feel like a Star Trek movie. As we go into this review, it's important to remember that Trek Central aims to be fair and balanced when reviewing any Star Trek media. However, we strive to be critical of odd writing choices and story directions that don't make sense. Please keep this in mind as this review digs into what might be the biggest miss of the modern Star Trek era under Alex Kurtzman. Originally designed as a TV series, following Yeoh's appearance on Star Trek Discovery, the global COVID pandemic delayed production. After the delay, the first season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds was prioritized. Section 31 was then redeveloped into a film project and originally announced in April 2023. Now, here we are. Section 31 marks the 14th Star Trek film and the first television film for the franchise. Okay, this is your final spoiler warning. Let's go and talk about this. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host, Captain Jack. Like always, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can click the links in the video description to follow us on the social platform of your choice. Don't forget, you can also join our Discord server to chat about Star Trek with us, including this film. If you want more Trek, consider hitting that join button and supporting us directly to get some great perks. Please let us know your thoughts on the movie in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, we of course want to hear about it. With that out of the way, let's get into this. Engage. The opening of Section 31 gives us a brief glimpse of Yeoh's former life as Philippa Georgiou. For example, we see her when she became the Terran Empire's Emperor. I don't mind this flashback, it does cement what we already know about the character, in which she'll go to any lengths to achieve her goal. To prove she is worthy of the Terran Empire's leadership, her family are murdered by her own poison. Little dark. The final contest is between Yeoh Georgiou and her friend turned lover, San. We previously mentioned San in Star Trek Discovery. It was nice to get a connection back for fans of that series. Sadly, we don't see anything of the initial contest before it's just these two left. It would have been good to see, perhaps, reinforcing the brutality of Georgiou and what the Terran Empire is like for those unaware, i.e. new viewers. This movie is introducing new people to Star Trek, hopefully, so maybe reinforcing that would be good and why the Terran Empire is a little bit OTT. Ultimately, Georgiou succeeds in the contest and her family is murdered, while San cannot go through with it. This leads to Georgiou being crowned the new Terran Empire. I guess they can play nice sometimes, and it's not about murdering everyone to get one step up the ladder. The previous 5 minutes of the movie say otherwise though. Georgiou and her diabolical reign of the Empire begin. I'm sure the ISS Charon, the Terran Empire flagship, seen in Discovery Season 1, is landed on the planet in the background. If correct, I like that detail. Let's talk about the plot of this movie. Unfortunately, the actual plot of Star Trek Section 31 is very predictable. One of the Trek Central crew managed to predict most of what happened simply by watching the trailers and thinking about it. The story ultimately feels like it was written for multiple TV series, episodes should I say, but has actually been chopped up and mashed into a 95-minute movie. It's even more apparent when the movie uses the story created by Bo Yeon Kim and Erica Linderpolt. Both writers were originally going to lead the Section 31 project when it was a series. Craig Sweeney has written the movie's screenplay, which does seem to have borrowed elements from Bo and Erica's original storyline. Honestly, the plot does feel as if it's just an excuse to once again throw together a bunch of misfits to get a simple job done. Almost feels like Picard Season 1 where he recruited a bunch of misfits. I did like some of the Terran Empire connections. These bits do work well, especially the younger Georgiou played by Mika Martine, but we only get a small amount of that. It would have been very good to see more of her early life and how she became a tyrant we encountered in Discovery. Instead, we get none of that. Frequent Star Trek Discovery director Olatunde Onsunsami directs the movie. While I've seen some criticism of his direction in regard to camera work, I was actually fine with this in the film. Generally, I like the direction it went in terms of directing the movie. The fight scene on a moving platform was a little jarring, it was fast paced, but ultimately I made through it both times when I watched Section 31. As mentioned, Section 31's plot deals with a mirror universe. This was apparent from the trailers. Our mysterious mass attacker is none other than Georgiou's former lover turned loyal servant, San. This is what I mean by the plot being a little predictable. San originally designed a Doomsday-esque device, with some others, on Georgiou's orders, and then apparently faked his death once it was complete and delivered. The Terran Emperor at the time ordered it destroyed, which was Georgiou. It was not. Eventually, Joe Pingo's character of Dada No recovered it and made his way to the Prime universe and tried to sell it. Speaking of San, I enjoyed his starship design. The mirror universe of Star Trek has given some fantastic costumes and starship designs. At first, I thought this was a generic sci-fi ship, but when you do look closer, and I got this in my second viewing, you can see the nacelles and the collectors installed. It is a shame we didn't see more of it before it blew up. Typical. San's motivation is to hand the godsend Doomsday device to the Terran Empire, who use it to conquer the quadrant and invade. A few fight scenes later, the Section 31 team repairs a garbage ship and somehow chases San's ship to the nebula in record time, where the mirror universe convergent point happens for lack of a longer explanation. While Rolls Garrett defeats Fuzz's ship with a teddy bear, yes, I am being serious, the final fight scene does give us some rare emotional vulnerability to Yo Jojo. As she mortally wounds San, it's a little bit emotional. Finally, the weapon is detonated, sealing the passage to the mirror universe, and all's is that's done well, I guess, if that's the expression. The cast and crew of Star Trek Section 31 are up for doing more of these TV movies. Michelle Yeoh previously said that she'll be open to making a sequel to Section 31 if the first film succeeds. However, I am not sure that will happen. Critic reviews, and so far, general audience response does not seem favourable. The movie ends in a position where future stories can be told. Jamie Lee Curtis guest stars as Control, the Section 31 mission handler, to deliver Alpha Team's next mission. Speaking of the ending, why does the space station turned starship warp away with all the other ships? Are all these ships decoys? Are they working for Jojo? Do they all follow the bar ship wherever it goes? Why hasn't Section 31 given Alok's Alpha Team a new starship to use? That would have been a fun way to end this film. Sure, it's cliche, but Star Trek typically ends things on, here's us in a ship, let's go do something else. I mean, it's kind of a common expectation of Trek projects and movies. Yes, this is just a nitpick, but I think it's a worthy point. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's talk about the cast of Section 31. While we have Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh leading the Star Trek Section 31 movie, the supporting cast is not too bad. While the actors and actresses seem to try their best with what they've been given, some of the material does not really work well. It was great to see Humbly Gonzalez playing a Delton, a familiar Star Trek species in the movie. However, she meets the Star Trek redshirt fate and is killed off 25 minutes into the movie, which is disappointing as we don't get to know her, and I'm like, that could have been anyone really. Murray Hardwick's Alok is the leader of Section 31's Alpha Team. It seems Alok might be the only character, bar Yeoh's, who has a backstory that properly connects with Star Trek. However, he is connected to the eugenics wars in the Star Trek universe's history. It's a topic that modern Star Trek likes to get close to. Ultimately, the backstory falls flat as it's told, and that's it. It would have been better to see the story. I really enjoyed Robert Kaczynski's Zeph portrayal. While the character plays as your typical heavy hitter, his banter often comes across as funny, but it does get cringy at some points. I'll be honest, the character Fuzz did not gel with me, and I've already seen some of your guys' comments about the Irish accent, and I agree, little jarring. Whilst Sven Rugok does his best with the writing, it does let him down. Fuzz is not a Vulcan, but a new species called a nanokin, which controls a Vulcan android body. For some reason he does have the Irish accent. It's quick to leave the android body on autopilot and fly into tiny other places is a nice gimmick. Sam Richardson as Quasi was actually very pleasant, even his character backstory goes nowhere, and I'll explain why in a minute. Casey Roll is actually fantastic as the character of Rachel Garrett. She plays a young Starfleet officer we know eventually becomes the captain of the USS Enterprise C. The story of Section 31 seems to believe the decisions she makes in the movie will inform her later command when she reaches the rank of captain. I think Roll did super well in this role, but we were robbed of seeing her in a Starfleet uniform and cementing her as a Starfleet officer in the movie. This is linked to my following criticism about visual identity. Before I get there, I feel that Rachel Garrett is here just for fan service. While Roll is fantastic in the character, I do wonder if this movie actually needed Garrett. I think the film attempts to suggest the character's experiences in the plot lead her to become the commander of the Enterprise C we see in The Next Generation. Ultimately, Garrett could have been a new character for the movie, and I don't think it would have changed the plot too much. Let's talk about visual identity. A version of Star Trek LCARS is present in the movie. Since Section 31 takes place in 2333, which is early in the 24th century, it makes sense that Federation tech, and those associated, are moving towards what we see in The Next Generation. The familiar sounds of this are nice to hear and see, but this is just a rare part of a movie that is otherwise scarce of actual familiar Star Trek sounds and visuals. I'm not saying the USS Enterprise B, to be specific, needs to be in the background, but some familiar sights to solidify that this is a Star Trek movie would make a lot more sense. Of course, you do recognize a few aliens from Star Trek shows and movies, but they're just there and here. I'm not counting Fuzz's Vulcan suit because it's not actually a Vulcan. I did expect some familiar sights for a movie set in the early 24th century. Yes, this is outside of Federation space, but when did that stop Star Trek previously? I was expecting to see some familiar looking starship designs. However, we did not get any. I will say that the Section 31 ship, which does get blown up, looks like an evolution of a design used in Discovery Season 2. Catch our video tomorrow on that detail. Sadly, we don't have any time for it because it's sabotaged and blown up. Back to story connections. This movie seems content in staying outside of the Federation, almost as if it's been removed to avoid causing issues in Star Trek's canon, which we know Trekkies are protective of. Don't lie, you are. It's undeniable that this is a TV movie, but that's not the problem. What is the issue is that Star Trek Section 31 does feel like a bunch of TV series ideas taken and crammed into a TV movie. For example, while watching, you can almost feel it trips over several ideas simultaneously, or some things are not explained. Take Richardson's quasi-character. The mention of how he came onto Section 31's radar by discovering something is described and told, but never brought up again. Why mention it? It was almost as if this was an idea to be explored later, but dropped due to time, or just not explored. The movie does not choose to expand on the story of Section 31 as in the organization. I went into this hoping that it would inform how we find a Black Ops division in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is in about 30 years. Okay, there's still a long way to go, but we will hopefully see the roots of our actions. Instead, the Section 31 movie does seem to not even bother talking much about the organization outside of a basic setup. A few details do stick out for the mega Star Trek lore nuts, which I include myself in. For example, the Federation can't get Georgiou on the Baram, which is a space bar, due to the Treaty of Catan. This treaty is actually referenced in Star Trek Enterprise's Fallen Hero episode. It's a nice detail, but a small one. This does explain why Section 31 is dispatched. The final moment in the film is when Control, which is played by guest star Jamie Lee Curtis, sends Section 31's Alpha team off to the planet Tucana 4. This is where Tasha Yar, played by Denise Crosby, is born in the next generation. A small world, I guess. Time for my final thoughts on Star Trek Section 31. While it may sound like my Star Trek Section 31 review is a negative experience, I want to emphasize that I did somewhat enjoy watching this. However, when I think about it more, things just do not work. So I guess if you want to watch it once and forget about it, you might be okay, and I do encourage you to watch it. However, as big fans of Star Trek, we can't see love and rewatch things produced in the franchise. I would not rush back to watch Section 31. Glaring story points and just a lot of wasted potential put me off this. I wanted to see a movie that explored who Section 31 is, and perhaps once again dealt with why the Federation actually needs an organization like this. When they first appeared in Deep Space Nine and did some questionable things during the Dominion War, I think some would sit back and see the need for them. Maybe this is a strong debate, but it is a debate I think this movie could have explored well. Instead, this feels like an action movie for the sake of making a wannabe Star Trek action movie. It did not stick the landing. I do encourage you to watch the film for yourself. You may like it. If so, I'm happy for you, as it is fantastic when we find others can enjoy things that we did not like. Star Trek Section 31 does represent an ongoing trend in the Star Trek franchise: experimentation. The Star Trek fanbase is getting older, so there's a lot of attempts to attract new viewers. We've seen this with the likes of Star Trek Prodigy and the upcoming Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Some of these projects stick the landing, and others might not. While writing this review, I did remember when the Section 31 series was announced. While I was always keen to see more of Michelle Yeoh, I also saw the outpour of online comments that frequently mentioned, "Who asked for this?" Surely Paramount Plus could have gotten out of making it by now. We're almost 5 to 6 years later. Unfortunately, overnight critic reviews are not looking well for Section 31. I do wait to see what the general audience consensus is over the weekend, and I invite you to comment your thoughts down below on this review, as you've been doing on our spoiler-free review. Of course, if you are going to watch Star Trek Section 31, it is out now on Paramount Plus for those who have access to the streaming service. The film is expected to arrive on February 7th on Sky Showtime for European viewers. You can let us know your thoughts on Star Trek's first TV movie via social media or by joining our Discord server, both linked below. So what did you think of Section 31? Love it, hate it, or just find it a bit meh? We value your opinions, so let us know in the comments below. Like always here on Trek Central, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack. Thanks for joining us for a brand new Star Trek review, and we'll see you in the next Star Trek video. Live long and prosper, my friends, and I'll see you very soon.